this instance, the Prime Minister could have come out and said, we're against it, we're not going to allow it, and pass legislation.
It smacks of pure partisan bias.
Yeah, he could have just picked up
Not
the phone,
justice.
in fact, and it probably would have been all over, but Anthony Albanese didn't do that.
He's a communist.
He certainly wears his socialist colours on his sleeve, and in this instance, he just let it happen, which is very, very sad. So I actually thought that people would have expected more of Anthony Albanese in this, and you're right, he has shown his true colours. He wasn't willing to act in protection of private property, he wasn't willing to act in protection of religious liberty or in protection of life.
As they say, so, silence was the deafening reply.
Well, more than that, they pretty much come out and gave the thumbs up that this needed to happen for the better provision of health services and the ACT, when just about every independent commentator would say that the provision of health services has been tremendously better under Calvary than it is under the state-run service.
Private
in,
enterprise services, imagine that being better than bureaucracy.
Yeah. And so, but to get back to the legal question, that really is something that the Catholic Church is going to have to explore. I hope they do go further with it. But at the moment, they've torn down the cross that was on the front of that church.
Within hours.
That is such a symbolic thing. I mean, they have ripped down the cross, they have ripped the Christian ethos out of that hospital, and now it will be placed with the zeitgeist of the times, which is all about the culture of death, abortion and euthanasia.
I have to say the picture of the ACT government tearing down crosses is identical to what the CCP does in China.
Yeah, well, there you go. They didn't have to remove that cross, they could have left it up there for historical purposes, but it's interesting that they chose to do that. So, and it speaks volumes actually that they did do it. That was the intent. The intent was to take the Christian ethos out of Calvary Hospital and to replace it with the state's ethos, and the state's ethos is completely and utterly in favour of the provision of abortion services, euthanasia services. In fact, they said it themselves in a Greens and Labor-run parliamentary inquiry in the ACT Parliament, if you can call it that, the ACT legislature. They actually looked into the provision of abortion services throughout Canberra, and the one thing one of the things that report that they did from that inquiry said was that Calvary Hospital was problematic. It was problematic because of its adherence to a religious ideology that wasn't in favour of abortion. So that come out just a few months ago, and next thing we have the forced takeover of the hospital. Well, I can add up 1 and 1 equals 2, and in this instance it definitely did.